Okay, so I'm just coming on here to introduce the video that will be on here. You're probably seeing this, but I don't know when I'll put it out sometime. I don't know. You're seeing me first before I even get into what I'm going to talk about because this very video that I'm about to show you was taken down. I took it down because there were aspects of it that were unethical and wrong of me. Like I named the teachers in this particular video, which I should not have done. I didn't know why. I just thought it was normal. I just wasn't very self-aware of that. I should have kept them anonymous. However, I will not apologize for the other things that I said because I did have points to make. I did have astrological tie-ins. I did have um, references to things. I was very, very transparent about my feelings about these particular teachers, but I don't want to name them. I don't want to give away their identity of who they are. I just want to tell you, I don't need to do that. I just want to tell you this is, who they are and, what they have done and their impact on me, which I think is fine. But I want to approach this in a way that is right this time. And, I'm going to tell you right now, I learned not to film videos in the middle of the night. I just could not sleep and I just had to do it. So, my mind wasn't fully, aware of things. And I don't know, I just let it slip and I just totally went all Neptune and Aries, no boundaries and self expression. I just didn't have a proper filter around these things. So, but I am not redoing this video. I put too much into filming this video. I am not doing it over. It would not be the same. So I'm going to edit this video. This video is edited. It's cleaned up. The parts that are not appropriate or the parts that give away others' identity, I've tried my best to get rid of those parts. And I just need you to be understanding of me and how hard I tried to clean up this video. I don't want to get into too much detail, but so I just hope, all that I will say is, I'm going to say it assertively. I hope that the um, schools don't find this wrong, because I will do my best not to make it that. I have lost way too much in my life. I have lost one channel that I have deleted. Um, Back in 2021, videos I started filming them October 2021. Lost all those videos, multiple videos a day, probably one video a day, and then I lost months and months of those videos in an instant because I was impulsive. Um, In October, I deleted another channel for another silly small reason. A lot of videos on that, got rid of all that. And in 2022, I deleted more videos because I wasn't patient because I couldn't upload all of them at all once. So I wasn't patient, and I got rid of that too. Didn't get rid of the channel, but I got rid of all those videos on the channel that I had. I cannot afford to lose and sacrifice any more videos. When I make a video that is intended to be out there for an audience, it will get out there. And I'm going to put this out there. And if you're not okay with it, then I'm okay with you not being okay with it. I know that I did approach this in the best way that I could. And that's what I will remember, and that's what I will understand. So I just wanted to film this before getting into this. I do get into some specific details of this, but it is all very real. I will not apologize for the information that I said about these people. I will apologize for naming them and giving away who they are. That's what I will apologize for. I do not put that much work into something just to have it taken down and not improved and not cleaned up and not edited and not all that stuff. So this is why I am doing this. Yes, I'm keeping things private. Yes, I'm holding true to the video that I made about privacy, but I'm also holding true with myself. In that video, I didn't say specifically, I will take down videos and not, resolve them. I just said I took the videos down. That's all I said. And I did indicate that I may go back and change it sometime. Um, so, here it is. So, I don't want to cause any trouble with this. I don't want to cause any, uh, you know, I am not intending to stir any kind of pot. I'm not intending to do all of that. I'm just trying to do my own thing and express my own thing on my Real Me podcast. And I want to do that in the right way. The other thing that I want to say before the video begins, before you see this video, before you see this podcast episode, I just want to say, and I acknowledge this very, very clearly in the episode, I filmed this at night. Okay, I filmed it at night. I woke up, I didn't wake up. I was up all night because I just couldn't sleep and there was no point of laying back down and trying to sleep. I had a video that I just wanted to film. It was this one. And I just wanted to not have that video to film that day. Um, as well as the Taurus North Node video that I was filming that day on my channel on Sunday. So I wanted to get this done. I'm not waking up in the middle. Like, I was talking to somebody and they said, like, don't call your ex in the middle of the night because, you know, you're gonna you're gonna regret it and you're not thinking clearly. Like this is not like that. This is not, me just going on about why I have grievances over some of these teachers and why I don't like some of these teachers. This is not an attack on them, and it's not supposed to be directed toward them. That's what it was the first time, because I mentioned their names and other factors that came into that, but I got rid of that. But it's not meant to be towards them. This is meant to be just for you watching this, for the viewer watching this, for the general audience. This is not meant to be toward them. It's meant to be a story. And in this video, I will say that I am agitated and that I'm not thinking in the clearest way. Like, I will not be filming videos that late at night again. But I did it, and it is what it is. And I wasn't thinking clearly when I did it. I was very, very calm throughout the whole thing. I wasn't, too crazy because it was the middle of the night. I was trying to, be quiet and whatever. Um, and I don't want any. So I just want you to be aware of that before watching the video. Like, I don't want you to be, I don't want there to be any drama or any negatives coming out of this video. Um, I'm putting this out there because I made the video and I intend to put it out there. And when I make a video and I put so much work into it, and I intend to put it out on YouTube, it will go out on YouTube regardless. I will find a way around it if I have to. I'll edit it, I'll do whatever. It's getting on there because I don't go to all that work, and I couldn't just do the whole thing over and over again. I had to, keep true to what it was. So I went in, I edited it, I did all the things so that it could be an ethical, acceptable video for you to think, that you wouldn't think anything bad of me if you saw this video and you heard me naming all these names that that you're like, whoa, and I was looking through that, and I was like, not necessary to name these names. Nobody needs to know the names of these individuals and these organizations. Like, no, nope, not needed. So, I presented it like a story. It was like a story, and I really, really hope that at this point you will enjoy the video. It is long, so take breaks, get comfortable with it, do whatever. But enjoy it. Just enjoy it, what I have to say as this episode of the Real Me excuse me. Enjoy what I have to say in this episode of the Real Me podcast. So, um, here is the video. It starts right now. Um, I'm doing this because I can't sleep. It's one of those nights where I'm like, I cannot relax. I can't settle down. My brain is too worked up. So I have to do it in a grounded way. I have to talk in a grounded way and not try to force myself to go to sleep when I'm clearly not feeling tired. So here I am doing this in the middle of the night. Don't think anything bad of me by doing this. I just, my grandpa he has the weirdest sleeping habits. He just, when he was alive, he had the weirdest sleeping habits, where he would sleep during the middle of the day and then be up watching TV all night because he couldn't sleep, just lay in bed restless, and it was too boring and too difficult for him. Like, I'm going to speak really solemnly in this podcast. I'm going to speak solemnly, I'm going to speak very, very calmly, and just not rush this, not get too, hopefully I won't be too excited about it, because it is at the time of day when you're not so revved up. But I want tomorrow to be focused on other things, and I want to really focus my mental time and energy into that Northern Taurus, Southern and Scorpio podcast. And that'll be a deep podcast. I have a feeling it'll go on for a long, long time, because there's a lot to discuss with that. And I will give it the full attention and respect that it deserves. Because it is my placement. I want to honor it, because I am so in love with this placement of the Northern Taurus. Before I even get into any of that, I just want to express how sad I feel. Like, and you know what? If I'm doing this, and if a family member comes in saying you should be in bed, well, that's them. They're gonna have their own things. Their own feelings. But I can't sleep. So here I am doing this because I have this idea and I want to get this out, and I just want to go to bed with the satisfaction. Like, you can't go to bed when you're really, really restless. Like, you can't settle down. And so I think when I do this and get this, finished, I will probably be feeling tired by then, and I'll be able to settle down. So I'm very, very sad that that I am the only one doing forecasts for the signs that are meaningful and insightful. I've expressed this before. Other astrologers don't do it very well. They just focus on the houses, and most of them will be about the houses, and it just saddens me because they have all this knowledge and everything to give, and I
I just feel in this moment so passionate about what I am doing with astrology, and so passionate about the subject itself, and so passionate that these forecasts should be meaningful and not just something like houses and aspects to your chart should be, that is for a consultation. YouTube is for real meaningful stuff, and I am a YouTube astrologer. I feel like I'm a master at being a YouTube astrologer now. I may not be the best at reading charts and doing readings and tracking cycles and predicting cycles in my life, whatever they do, which is very, very interesting when I don't do that. I just know a lot about it. I'm fascinated by it, and I want to share all the pearls of knowledge that I've collected piece by piece. But, I actually want to learn more about it. And it's so sad that I have other things on my list that I put down that I made a promise to myself. I'm going to stick to these things, and I'm going to do it because I'm still interested in these things. But when I get there, I'll be buying all these astrology books because I want to get into the subject. But for right now, I want to focus on what I can do and read about transits and things like that without having to make videos on it. Like simplifying my life, not having to make a video over every little thing that I read about astrology. Just being and just enjoying it for its own sake. I will do the weekly transits, I will do the weekly videos, but I set this up so that I could have a more balanced life with not being so consumed with YouTube. That's why I've been so guilty about it, because I'm being so consumed by it. And I, set this podcast up so it could be a space where I could just vent, talk about my real, what's going on in my life and what I want to share about my life. And so this is a behind the scenes type space where this is a safe container for me to do this. Like, this is a separate category. The podcast is separate. The other podcast that I have is separate from this. You have an option. Either choose the vastness of Google or this podcast. You have an option. So, it saddens me that these astrologers do not share their pearls of knowledge, their pearls of wisdom and knowledge about how the signs can benefit from transits. Like, say, Saturn and Pisces, an astrologer could say Aries could strengthen its intuition, it's so much it's in an ego. Or Venus retrograde in Leo. Taurus could, I don't know, make his life more regal. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to do the thinking about that right now, but just sharing these pearls of knowledge. It's just so sad. It is so sad. I am the only one doing this. I'm the only one producing this kind of content. I mean, I am this close to going on and researching how you can get more following on your YouTube channel. I mean, I was very, very hesitant because I want to do it my own way, but I am this close. Like, I can feel the patience in my balloon running out. I'm so close to be like, all right, I've had enough. I want more people to be able to see this and be influenced by this and be exposed to what I have to give, because I feel that I am so good at explaining this. I think that I'm going to go on tomorrow and see what I can do to not compromise what I produce, but get more following. Real actual following, not promotions where people are subscribing to your channel because they see it and they don't think clearly about what is actually on your channel. That's what I did with my first channel, is I clicked promotion and all of a sudden I just blew up with subscribers. But I am so close to doing that because, and then people will follow me on Instagram, and then my following will just grow. I'm not expecting like 1,000,000 followers. Like I will not allow myself to get caught up in, oh, I have 1,000, but I don't have 1,000,000. Like it doesn't matter to me if I have 500 or 1,000 or a little bit more of a following, or just more views on my videos, not necessarily subscribers, but more views on my videos. That would mean a lot to me because it would show that what I have to give, especially with these 12 sign readings that I do for my channel, would be out there. That they would be out there so that more people would see them and see, wow, this is not superficial astrology. Wow, you've enlightened me. Wow, um, I never thought about it in this way. Or just, wow, this is the most interesting video on the 12 signs I've ever heard. Like, these kind of things. And I'm not here to claim that I'm the best and I'm the most knowledgeable. I do not want to fall into that mentality, and I could lean into that, but I don't want to become that. I don't want to become so obsessed with the fame and the how knowledgeable I am, because that's the genius mentality. Getting gotten how knowledge you are, you become disconnected. No, I want to remain humble. I want to remain curious. I want to remain open to learning. But I will claim how knowledgeable I am on this. And I think I am going to go on and see what I can do. I'm going to see what I can do, because I don't want my videos to be underrated. I want those videos with the 12 signs to attract viewers, and the views just go up and the comments come in, and wow, just wow. But I can't go on and find out what Mars and Aries this year has to do with my life, because an astrologer won't give me a meaningful explanation for it. They just say, oh, it's happening in your 11th house, so therefore you're going to feel more motivated in your group situation. Like, what does that mean? What if I'm not motivated in my group situation? My community? Like, it's like an abuse of the houses. Like, it's not getting into what the signs actually mean. It's not getting into the qualities and how they, as signs with who they are, can evolve through this transit. Like, it's telling me nothing. It's just meaningless. That's all I can think to say about it. So I just had the realization this evening that, well, I have all these oracle cards now. I have over 100 oracle decks that I bought for the obsessive reason of buying them all 2025, the end of 2024. You know what? I'm going to take these things out and actually use them to give me meaning in my days, with all the meaning of astrology, like this transit that I talk about or that I read about that I'm interested in. I pull a card. What do I need to know about this solar eclipse and whatever that I didn't talk about? I get a card. Now, I may or may not embody the card. I have learned with oracle cards, you don't have to follow exactly what they're saying. But just be open. Just be curious. Just be willing to receive the guidance. That's all that you need to be able to do when using oracle cards. I thought that you had to just live it and embody it. Well, that's very, very limiting, and that's very, very restricting, and that's not how you should approach oracle cards. Is to look for, what do I need to do, and making a commitment, because it's human nature not to want to be told what to do and go your own way and do that. Like, when we hear things, we just want to do our own thing. That's just human nature, no matter how much fire or Aquarius in your chart or whatever. But I'm gonna probably pull this out for my days in the transit, because I think it'll be a comfort to have something that can give me meaning, and especially as I'm reading about it. Highly intellectual attractive with that. Okay. Getting into this podcast. Getting into what I want to really talk about. let's start off at the very beginning with school. I have a lot to say with this. How this began when I first entered school. My very first memory. So, I'm going to take my time. This is going to probably be longer than the other ones, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with it. All right. My very first memory. I was with this teacher, and I remember going around and to parks and things like a stroll or whatever. Anyway, I remember throwing something, and in school I was not a bully. I was not somebody who teased others. I was not somebody who was disruptive or disrespectful in class. I followed the rules. I did my work. I did in line, but there were a few times when I was actually doing this. And one of the very first things I remember was throwing something in the classroom. And then the teacher got mad at me. And I was like, I find that hard to believe that, well, I was that young, but I threw something. Like, that's all I did in my whole school career was just throw something. Like, seriously, is it that bad just to throw something in the air? Like, throwing something in the air is not a crime, but apparently it was a big deal. Like you realize how trivial these things in school are, these little things, like if you are, if you're in kindergarten and you misbehave to this teacher, then the teacher makes you write sorry notes. Like, these are these surface level things that are just so trivial, that are so insignificant. And so this throwing thing was insignificant. And then the teacher was getting mad at me for that. Which, looking back, I'm like, okay, not the worst thing that someone could be doing. Moving on, there was one time when my grandma was there. It was like fall or winter or fall or spring, whatever. And I remember being so attached to her, so attached. Like, I didn't want her to leave my side. I didn't want to leave her side. I had this attachment to her. So she was in the class. She observed my class, and then she left the class. And then the next thing I remember is I was asked, "Where's my grandma?" And then the teacher said, "She went to another teacher's room. I believe her name was Mrs. Grams." And then I reacted. Then the teacher was like, "Everett, calm down." Like, well, I'm not going to calm down, because you know what? Nobody told me that she would be leaving the classroom without my knowledge. I had no idea that she would be leaving the classroom, and she didn't tell me that she was leaving. She didn't ask for my consent that she was leaving, and I was this young. So of course I'm going to react and be startled and be hurt by it. Like, lean into my feelings and understand how I felt in the situation. Wouldn't you feel that way if a family member suddenly left and was taken by somebody, and you didn't know that they were gone and they were taken when you were looking, and then you're wondering where they are? Like, wouldn't you react, and wouldn't you be emotional? Wouldn't you be concerned? Insensitive. So that's what I remember about that. Kindergarten. What I remember about kindergarten was my very first year of official school. And you learn the average things in kindergarten, the ABCs, this and that. The South Node was in Cancer. When I was in kindergarten, it was from the fall of 2010 to the spring fall of 2009 to the spring of 2010. The South Node was in Cancer. Just entered right as I entered kindergarten. South Node in Cancer is about getting out of the emotional mess. What's going on? Getting out of the emotions, getting out of your connection to family and all this kind of stuff, and moving up into the world, and getting out into the world, and and making a name for yourself, and getting out into work and detaching from the emotions and being more independent, which I think was very appropriate since I was going to school officially for the first time for a year for 8 hours a day. So it's very appropriate for North Node and Capricorn that first year. And I'm going to be bringing up the North Nodes in this quite a bit, so be prepared. This is going to be long. I'm already feeling it. I was in kindergarten. The other thing that I remember was at the end of the year, there was this concert in the music teacher. And we sang a concert. We had a concert, and looking back, it was like a remix. And the very, very first time I heard remix, the word remix. And so we sang songs that were like kindergarten songs, ABCs, and I looked at her and I was saying, I thought she was more heavy set than she looked like. I looked back on her at a video that was filmed way back then, and I'm like, that looks different than the person I remember. Like, your perception when you're little is so different from when you were an adult. Like, it's so clouded, it's not the clearest, it's very, very black and white. You're not seeing things with the clarity that you would if you were older. Like, how I'm seeing things with clarity now at 21 years old. That's what I remember. My grandpa and grandma were there that day. They, we went out. We went to a restaurant that evening. I think we went to somewhere in the country the next day. Did all that. It was a very, very fun occasion and time. First grade. Kind of jumping through these. First grade teacher. I don't remember a lot of that year at all. It was kind of, the same. Yeah, actually, I barely remember anything significant about that year, so I'm going to move on to second grade. Well, get this, the second grade was, with her, again, nothing too significant that I have to talk about, just kind of the average day-to-day stuff with second grade. I mean, I remember, throughout my whole school experience, this is the detail that I'm going to be real about with you. I was in special ed. I had an IEP, special ed. You'd probably not guess that from my videos, but that was the way it was when I was in school. In grade. So third grade, as soon as I entered third grade, the North Node shifted back into Scorpio. I had my reverse nodal return. And, I think that when that next North Node in Scorpio comes, I'll be like, oh, not in alignment with the world. I will be going on my own quest to my own North Node. I just feel so strongly about it. I just don't want to put my focus too much on the North Node in Scorpio because I'm kind of not wanting to film that video and not wanting to do that podcast. Maybe I do, but I'm just feel so strongly about my own North Node that anyway, but this was the reverse North Node. August 27th is when it entered, just as I was entering third grade. And the North Node in Scorpio, the South Node in Taurus, basically is about getting rid of the comfort and familiarity of your material possessions and your simple life of being so tied to defining yourself by these material things and doing it all on your own. And, living in a palace where all these material things combine and feeling like you're the only one to take care of yourselves. When the North Node in Scorpio is a very other-oriented North Node. It's a very focus on receptivity, merging with others when it comes to allowing them in to influence your energy and support you and evolve you and transform you, and being very, very sensitive to the dynamics of power and to the dynamics of others, and really investigating why people do what they do and getting deep instead of looking at the surface level, instead of kind of doing all this work, whatever. Focus on what's actually going on with them, not with you as much. So The third grade, and I should say that all of these grades were grade school. Grade school pertains to grades 1 through 12, not just elementary. I think that we get that wrong. Don't correct me in the comments about that, please. I'm very, very well aware of what I'm saying. So, third grade. This is when I started to notice the bullying, the teasing, the taunting starting to happen. One of the things I remember in third grade, there's a couple of things I want to discuss with this. Before I get to the kind of the big issue of third grade, I want to talk about a smaller issue, which was the kids in school were said the word meow to me over and over and over. Meow, meow, meow as a way to annoy me. This is when I started getting annoyed by my peers, is through the meowing. And I was like, stop, 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 stop doing this. Leave me alone. Stop bothering me. And I took it so personally. And, in school, you're not the most mature. And, of course, I've way evolved from that. And I'm not definitely in that situation anymore. Well, thank goodness. And throughout the whole school experience, my whole school experience, I was more mature than I felt like most others or everybody else. Everybody else was less mature than I was, just to put it shortly. So I started noticing, the things. I started becoming very, very reactive, very, just responding to every little thing that they did that was a tease, that was not a bully, but just to annoy me. The real issue was my special ed teacher in third grade and the first semester of fourth grade. Let me describe this in the deepest, most real way possible. I perceived like she was mad at me a lot of the time. Like she was annoyed at me. Like she was frustrated at my progress. Like she was not satisfied at how good, and she criticized me and she put me down, and she didn't acknowledge my strengths and gifts. She didn't acknowledge what I was good at and the things that I did well, and she didn't sort of gently help me along to become better in a gentle, compassionate way, in an honest, gentle, compassionate way. She was just annoyed at me, and she did this in this tone that was very, very, annoying, or not annoying, but just very, very frustrating, very, very critical, and very, in this kind of way that I perceived her as this throughout the whole third grade experience. And I remember there was one day where she was like, "We're gonna have your family come in here and have a talk." And let me tell you, throughout my elementary school experience, I picked up these traits of teachers, and I implemented them with my family in my videos, in my pretend videos. I implemented them in my pretend stuff, and I acted and embodied the teachers. Like I was such a ham when I was growing up. And I was such a copycat of the teachers, because you're influenced by the world around you when you're little, and you just copy off of the world around you. And so that's what I did. So it just felt natural to do. So now I'm taking a deeper dive and not looking so much at the superficial elements of this, but taking a deeper dive into these narratives of my life. And then, the other thing with third grade, that I remember was just there's a lot of issues with talking. And I remember the teacher saying, no talking, no talking. And there's one day when it was really, really bad. She got really, really frustrated with everybody when it comes to talking so much. And I was just so frustrated. And this happened several times at school. Like, stop talking. Just. And, my moon and Libra didn't want the disharmony of that and wanted everyone to follow along and just stop talking and do what they're supposed to do. Because I do have an Aries sun, but I do have that moon and Libra in my chart to balance me out. So, that was third grade. That year, 2013, I had a lot of, I didn't have just special ed teachers. I had associates all throughout my school experience, and I was tied to these associates. I was more connected to them than my peers. I sat on the bus with them when we went on field trips. I needed help from them all the time. I had this attachment to them, like this emotional attachment to always needing assistance, always needing help, and totally handing my power over to them, relying on them to help me instead of allowing them to empower me to, do it on my own, which I wasn't interested in at this point. And of course, when you're forced into school, you don't want to do it, but that's the very, very sad reality of school. It is kind of a factory in a way. Like, it is kind of a conditioning center where you're taught to do this. You have to fall in line and follow the rules. But so, the end of third grade, I was watching The Sound of Music in the spring of 2013. That's when I first found out about it. And it was the romantic era of music and all these kind of things. And throughout my elementary school experience, I sang outside at recess. Like, I sang. I was uninhibited. Like, there's a lady that walks down the street sometimes in my neighborhood who just sings and doesn't care what others sing for. And I'm like, wow, that's so queer. And doing it, not giving a darn about what others think of you. Wow, that's admirable. Of course, if I was little, I'd have something to say about that. I could have judged her, but no, she was doing her own thing and doing it her own way. And it reminds me of myself when I used to sing outside at recess. The kids would say, stop singing, but I wanted to do it. I wanted to just make up songs as I went. My vibration was high. I did it from my heart. I was expressing something through my heart, when I did this. And I was just having fun and being my uninhibited self with no inhibitions, no plans, no limitations except the natural ones. Of course, I was just walking around and just singing all these songs, and I sang to the chaperones at recess, and they really, really liked it. I was quite the creative one back then. Especially as I progressed out and entered Leo, I'm creative in a whole other way now, but when I progressed out and was in Leo, I was just my creative phase, my dramatic creative phase, and this was getting towards the middle of that progressed Saturn. If it only was every 7 years, I'm going to talk about it like it is every 7 years because I think it pieces together with my life. And you can check out that progressed Saturn in Virgo podcast if you want more details on that. So that was third grade. Fourth grade. The first teacher that I had, who I believe was a Sagittarius sun, and I was at the same school. And the first semester was kind of the same as third grade. I had a new associate. Was with me all of fourth grade, all of fifth grade, and then wasn't with me when I went to middle school, of course. But first semester, it was basically the same. I remember going to a mechanics place one day, and then an art museum as a field trip the next day, finding out about somebody who lived a very, very short life, and going to statues and doing all this. And then, on my case about stuff, which I did not like. And so that is why I switched over to another school in the middle of the year. I switched over to another school. I was getting into Chow Italia and all that stuff at the time, getting into just dipping my feet into cooking shows at the time, just barely getting into it. Okay, I'm getting tired. That's a good sign that I'm getting tired. Getting tired, yay. I'll want to go to bed soon. Who knows, I may post this and just go to bed right after it's done being posted, I don't know. I can feel myself getting a little bit more relaxed, getting a little bit more tired. So we'll see how this goes. So fourth grade, the first semester was me doing kind of the same stuff. Then I switched over because that there would be more support for me at the elementary school I moved to. I don't exactly remember the details and the reasons for that, but one of them was because the special ed teacher, and the one over Wilder would be nicer, kinder, and more supportive of my needs, and not so critical and judgmental and frustrated at me all the time. And that's how I perceived frustrated and not liking me and not impressed with me and not thinking that I'm good enough in her eyes. Like, I never felt that I was good enough in her eyes. So that's the real true thing that's not surface level that I want to say here. So the second semester of fourth grade, the most of 2014, 2013, the end of 2014 was a very, very good year, except the end of it, which I'll get to later. But most of it was a very, very good year. I moved to, there's a lot of nostalgia with this semester. I do remember going in just as a little, like a trailer to a movie, like a little preview one day at the end of the first semester of fourth grade, just to go to the school and, see what the teacher was like, what the class was like, just get a taste of what it would be like when I would go in there full time to fourth grade. And so we watched the movie Stone Fox about I don't want to go into that. I feel it's not necessary to go into, so I'm not going to go there. But so that last semester of fourth grade, very, very good. The teacher had a kind of reddish hair, kind of on the older side, I'm guessing, born in like 1958, 1957, I'm guessing 1959, somewhere around there. Very, very nice. I would guess she is a Cancer. I would put her in Cancer. She was very much a hugger. She loved to hug. She was very nurturing. She was very kind, very emotionally sensitive to everyone, very considerate, very supportive. So that was her. There are a lot of good memories with fourth grade. Like, we went to a game. It was kind of fun, like a sports game. We went to a Hy-Vee type concert or whatever that was very, very loud, and my ears hurt. I had to wear earplugs, and it was an uncomfortable experience. And we went to several field trips and did all this stuff at the next semester of fourth grade. And that was kind of it. Instead of getting into the minutia of it, which I don't feel like I want to go into with fourth grade. I just feel like I want to give you a broad overview of these grades. I don't feel like I want to go into it. So this is the real me, and this is what I really want to talk about. I'm not going to force myself to talk about something that I just don't feel in the mood to talk about with these podcasts. So, fourth grade was very, very good. A very, very easy year. We had, literature in the morning, reading in the morning, English in the morning, math in the afternoon. I had the teacher. And I should mention something very, very, huge about fourth grade that I should really, really mention here, which I just remembered. Thank goodness I did, because this is big. And maybe there's a video about it. This is where I had my small fame before YouTube, and before I'm potentially going to become really popular, before the real public thing. But anyway, the teacher, very, very young, very, very nice, was a great special ed teacher. But so anyway, what I remember was there was a talent show, and I felt like a star, and I have to look back at it going, well, it's like you're looking at the world from a distance. Oh, well, that's a small continent. I'm way up here. That's very small compared to where I am right now in my life. And honestly, I feel that way. Because it was great. It was great, but I don't want to minimize it. But I'm just saying, looking back, it's like, yeah, but that was before I got really serious about actually putting myself out there for real to the public, online, to the world, like I am now with these videos. Not to say that I'm super famous, but putting myself out there. So I'm gonna have 129 subscribers as far as I checked. So that's pretty good amount. Doesn't equal the views, and sometimes I get views on videos that I'm like, this is not the video that I thought would get views on, because I put a lot of attention and focus on this video. This is a video that I didn't make this view about, but then this video is getting all these comments and all these views that I didn't expect, and I'm like, why can't the videos that I'm so serious in, for the most part, get all these views, and why can't the other ones just be put aside? It's just so funny. And I get comments, I'm like, well, great that you were commenting on that, but why did you comment and view the other videos that I want you to see? So anyway, I was in a talent show, and I was in with a music teacher who reminded me a lot of my second grade teacher, but kind of at the same age. Very, very good music teacher. So I sang Climb Every Mountain from The Sound of Music, and I honestly have to say, that song is so incredibly Aries. So my sun sign. It is so Aries, because what is it about? It is about not hiding under a bushel and not hiding away from your problems and not running away from your problems and refusing to face the problems, but to face the problem, to face the fear, to go the distance, to climb the mountains, to experience things. Like, this goes deeper than just fears. It's about experiencing life and not holding yourself back from the fear of experiencing life. Like, it's so Aries energy. It's not only about facing your fears, but it's about making the most out of life and really experiencing it fully without limiting yourself because of your fears. It's about climbing every mountain, ford every stream, follow every rainbow, till you find your purpose. Like, it also emphasizes you have to find yourself, and you have to go through all these experiences and discover all these things in order to find what you're here to do in this life, what your soul is calling you towards, until you find your dream, until you find what you're meant to do, and you become into that, you become empowered into that, and you become strong within yourself and knowing yourself within that, and and then you live the fullest life that you could live. So that song is so Aries. It's so perfect that I had to sing that song. That I didn't have to, but that I sang that song because it's so Aries, and I was an Aries. So anyway, so I sang that song. My grandma was there. I sang it. I didn't know when to cut off whatever, how much I was saying, but I sang it a cappella. Didn't have any fancy clothes on at the time. It was a talent show. Everybody was watching me. At the time, I was like, felt like I was on stage. I was felt famous. And looking back, I have to have as much empathy for myself as I could with how I felt back then about it. But I will, like, I'm telling you, in front of a crowd, I will treat them the same way as I do my audience on YouTube. I will treat my audience like if I'm presenting in front of an oral con class or doing whatever, I will present it in the same way or a similar way as I do my videos. Like I will, because I have to say, I have to give myself credit for being such a good communicator and such a good speaker and being able to articulate all these things and be good at oral comm, and then the researching element of all that. Like, I'm good at just presenting myself in general. I'm good at doing that. I just have the gift of the gab in that way because of my Gemini, my four Gemini placements in my chart. Anyway, I did put on this show, and my grandma was there. She actually stood up and applauded me, and that's what I remember. That was such a great experience, and I felt so honored to sing that song. And now I look back going, wow, that was so me. That was so my sun sign. That's such a representation of my life. Song of my life. Climb Every Mountain, my favorite song. Um, the song that spells out me, making the most of life. Basically doing what I talk about on my videos through astrology. Finding yourself, living a fulfilled life, being authentic to yourself. Like, wow, that song is just so perfect. So perfect. Um, so I just had that realization just now. I didn't think of that prior to this video. So, basically that was 4th grade.
I feel it's very, very appropriate to put a warning in this part of the video. I'm going to tell you, this part of the video is a little kind of going off the deep end with things. I'm going to just tell you that right now. There are some details in this part of the video that are a little, extreme that I describe and very negative, and I just need you to be aware of that before stepping into this particular part of the video. And if you are uncomfortable with these things that I will be describing, I'll have a timestamp in the description just to tell you, um, just that particular part of the video so that you can jump to when um, the video is not playing anymore, or that part of the video is not. You know, it does feel scary to say all this and go back and edit this. It does, but you know what? It is all true, and I don't want to cover it up, and I don't want to just hide my truth and what I have to say about these things. And so this is one of those videos where it's going to be uncomfortable. I'm going to tell you right now, the fact that I'm putting this warning should be, enough of a way that this video can get by. Um, because as I said at the beginning, I am editing this thing out. I am getting rid of the parts that are just shouldn't be in there. I do get very specific about what happened in this part of the video. And I do not want to have any drama about this. I do not want to have any conversations with this. I don't want to have any negative situations about this. I am very aware of what I am doing. And I left the names out of it and everything. I didn't want to give away anyone in this. Because I do say some pretty negative stuff in this part of the video. So I just want to forewarn you before diving into this so that that you're aware. I just thought I'd make this video and leave it at that. So anyway, back to the video.
I have to laugh. It was good. All right. Now we are preparing to enter the gates of hell. I'm just going to tell you that right now. I was unprepared to enter the gates of hell. I'm just exaggerating this, but I feel like I opened up the entrance to hell to my Scorpio South Node. Now, the South Node was in Aries when I went into 5th grade. It entered Aries way back in February 20, 14, Mars retrograded in Libra, which was about really, Mars retrograded in Libra. Tough, 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 tough. It's like you just feel like there's no way to keep the peace. You just feel like there's just no one in your life that can be harmonious, and you're not seeing the harmony, and you don't know how to keep the peace. You want to keep the peace so bad, but Mars is retrograde, so you're not motivated in doing whatever. I mean, Mars Libra has many, many positive sides, but it's also considered in its detriment in Libra. And if it's a retrograde, that is rough. Thank goodness it happened at the beginning part of 2014 and not at the end, because then it would be really intense. Because I'm telling you, this memory of 5th grade, this whole experience, will live in my memory till the day I die. It is huge. Huge, 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 and not in a good way at all. You know, I thought about this for many, many years. I looked back on this. So the South Node was in Aries. It entered February 2014, stayed until November 2015. Basically, the South Node in Aries is very much about fighting, battle, not feeling this lack of peace, like you always have to defend yourself, like you always have to fight for things. Like it's just so, where you have to be a shark, where you have to be fighting for yourself. I, me, in in the waters. You have to be selfish because you just can't find peaceful surroundings. You just can't find peace. You just can't find harmony within yourself and with relationships around you. The North Node in Libra is about the act, and this is a positive side of Libra. There's shadow sides to it, but the positive side of Libra is being open-hearted, being open-minded, really understanding the importance of being considerate of others, and forming peaceful relationships with others that really are very fulfilling to you, because it's not fulfilling to have a relationship that's just battle and fighting in the next conquest all the time. Like, it's nice to have a balanced relationship which is even-keeled, harmonious. The two are in tandem. Like, that's what the North Node and Libra people aim to move towards, is balance, is equilibrium in this life, which my 5th grade teacher could certainly learn a lot from if she was only as into astrology as I was. Because my 5th grade teacher was so mean, so intense, so just forced to be reckoned with completely. I remember this very, very clearly. I remember going to a store with my mom, Fairway, and I remember talking to a preschool teacher that I had, and she said, "Oh, I think I know who she is, and I know her." She said very, very casually, and this was a big understatement. Big understatement. She did not paint an accurate picture of this teacher. She said, slightly firm, but very nice. Like, that's how she said it in my mind. And, okay, we'll get that at the time. Okay, that's good to know. I'm a little bit worried, but not too worried, it'll be great. This thing called open house, where you go and meet your teacher and preview the classroom and do all that, before you, meet the teacher, start the teacher, itself, start, officially come in the first day of class. The teacher, okay, and she killed everybody with her intensity. I mean, she killed me with her intensity. She drained that. Like, I'm telling you, she completely drained me dry. Like, no exaggeration with how I perceived her at this time. Because I just think it's just so interesting to me. I mean, my mom had a teacher in school whose name was very, very long, who was really mean. Her fourth grade teacher. We had the reverse. My fourth grade teacher was really, really nice, and her fourth grade teacher was the opposite. And then she really liked her fifth grade teacher, and then she had to move the middle semester, just like I moved the middle semester in the fourth grade, and her, that kind of thing. So anyway, but anyway. And what do I remember? Not very good. Not much at all. In fact, I remember, I didn't know this is the first day. I didn't know this is the first day. I mean, when I went into that open house, I had good feelings about this teacher. I had good feelings about this teacher. I wasn't feeling elated, but I felt secure, like, okay, this was going to be fine. I could handle this. Like, that's how I felt. It wasn't like, oh, yay, this is so exciting. It was like, I can do this. This is fine. I like this teacher. It's going to be a good year. Like, I was feeling solid. Like, I was feeling grounded. I would describe it as just feeling grounded. Like, with in this open house. Went to school that first day. And I didn't notice it the first day. We started, and by the way, I should mention, and I mentioned this in another podcast, my Too Draining Friendship podcast, which is specific. I will warn you about that because I do get into some personal details about others' information. Sorry, I had to. I did not name the names because it did not feel right. I did announce at the beginning, I said to say this episode has a red flag. It kind of does a little bit because of the thing, but anyway. It didn't feel right, and I'm not going back and redoing that episode. But there was a friend that I made friends with who was in fifth grade. The stories are going to overlap here. A friend that I knew very, very well in fifth grade, that I met in fourth grade, that was in my fifth grade class, and the teacher was on him about stuff and mad at him a lot, like so much at the time. And, the same thing happened in high school with another teacher, which I'll get into later. But, okay, this is going to be long, okay? This is going to be long. Just be prepared for this. But so he was in there. I'll try to get to my points briefly as possible here. This is going to be the big thing that I'm going to, one of the bigger things that I'm going to be talking about in this podcast. Okay. Okay, let me get my thoughts together here. So, I don't think that she responsibly and with self-awareness and with evolution knew how to manage her anger. Like, I didn't know, I didn't think that she would manage her anger. Like, I thought to myself, did she enjoy getting this mad? Was she seriously enjoying getting this worked up about stuff and getting this mad and getting this, just yelling at the class and being so firm with the class? Like, she was intensely firm, I'm telling you. Not strict at all. I get this. She had one rule. One rule. And you know what that rule was? This was one of the very, very few things I agree with her. Respect yourself. Respect yourself. She claimed that if you do this, you can respect others very, very easily. Like, that was her one rule. And I'm questioning whether she actually respected herself, because she wasn't respecting the class with how mad and mean she got. She wasn't the most self-aware teacher. Being self-aware and respecting herself when it comes to how she used her energy. If she was in Aries, maybe she was a Sagittarius. I don't know, one of those two signs. I'm guessing one of those two signs. Maybe April 13th or December 17th. That's my guess of her birthday. But anyway, she did not use her anger well. She did not know how to control it, how she expressed it in a way that is evolved, in a way that is considerate, in a way that is compassionate, in a way that is honest, in a way that is holding space, in a way that is right. She expressed it in a very low vibration, low Aries quality way. And the first time that I really noticed this was one day in September. It was a Monday. And I was sitting down in my class after gym class. It was the end of the day. I was sitting down, and one of the students, a female, was crying, and like the teacher probably asked, like, why are you crying, or something along those lines. She said that my friend hurt her, like he did something bad to her, said something mean to her, did something wrong to her. I don't remember what it was. This is what I remember that happened next. I remember this very, very clearly. I can see it now. My friend was sitting towards the window. She was standing at the other, kind of at another end of the classroom, but not like at the complete other end, but a little bit of a distance from him. She was on a mission when she walked up towards him. She was so determined. She started walking, and it was like she was mad. Like the volcano was gonna erupt. Like I was constantly afraid with her. Constantly on eggshells, like constantly afraid when the next volcano would erupt. I didn't know when she would blow her top. I didn't know when she would get mad next. I was like incredibly insecure around her, like really extremely insecure. And that is a very, very tough, like I realize negative power dynamics of teachers, and that South Node in Aries, North Node in Libra, I think spells this out very, very strongly with the dynamic that was going on in the North Node aiming towards peace. Like it's not like North Node in Libra is not disowning who you are as an authentic individual. It's disowning the lower, egoic, selfish parts of you, and it's disowning the negative fighting power dynamics that you may express. That's what it's disowning. When you actually step into living from the inside out in the higher version, then you can move into the North Node in Libra and have more harmonious relationships. Harmonious relationships with others when you are harmonious and evolved within yourself. That's the North Node in Libra. And the other is just surface level. That's the deep, real meaning of the North Node in Libra, to my understanding of it. So that was going on at the time, and so the teacher walked up to this friend, and guess what she did? When she walked up to this friend, she abruptly leaned right into his face, and started yelling at him. Yelling and screaming and being very, very angry and being very firm. I don't remember what she was saying, something about a chair being broken or something about how bad what he did. She was really, really mad at him with that. And it was like, wow. I mean, I look back on that going, wow. I was kind of amazed at the time, but looking back, I'm like, wow, did I have to really experience that? This was worse than third grade. A lot worse. You could multiply it times 50 or 100. because I just put myself from one bad situation to an even worse situation. Wilder Elementary. So she leaned down in his face, she got mad at him, very intense. I just was amazed and stunned how mad and how intense she would be. I'm sorry. I actually not sorry. That is just flat out wrong. Like, she used the phrase flat out wrong, flat out wrong. Well, you know what? A lot of your actions you didn't hold yourself accountable for. You did not take responsibility for your actions as the teacher, and you were flat out wrong with how you treated my friend and how you constantly yelled at him and got mad at him and were mean to him through being mad. Like, she was mean through being mad. And being mad can actually be a form of that if you're not using your anger well. Okay, that's a whole conversation. I don't want to go into it. I don't want to go there. I don't want to make this too complicated. But so, basically, she, really, what she did when she did that, and all the time, a lot of what she did was, that particular thing was so wrong. It is so not right to lean into a student's face and scare the living daylights out of them and, haunt them. Like, I cannot imagine how he felt when he saw the teacher coming up to him and got her right in his face, yelling in his ears hurting and being very, very intense and being very, like, oh my gosh. Wow, that is wrong. Wow, that is evil. Wow, that is callous. Wow, that is unbelievably mean. Like, I don't even have words for this. That is somebody that you do not want to mess with and that you do not want to associate yourself with. Is somebody who behaves in that kind of intense, mean way as she did with my friend, especially. I'm just, and I really had to experience that. I really had to be like, the power dynamic. I'm gonna say it right out here. She abused her power. She abused her power in the classroom. Just like how Abby Lee Miller, like, oh my gosh, she and Abby Lee Miller. As soon as I saw Abby Lee Miller on Dance Mom, she reminded me so much. She was like, so much reminded me of Abby Lee Miller. How she yelled at the kids, were, was, so, intense and, like, so many things like that. And there's so many similarities. Short answer is, if you go watch Dance Moms and you see Abby Lee Miller getting mad, that dynamic is kind of similar to, that dynamic is very, very similar to my 5th grade teacher. Similar accent, similar tone, similar personality. Like, that's going to give you a really, really huge look into how she was and who she was in her personality. But she abused her power. I do feel like she abused her power in the classroom by being as intense and firm as she was, and abused her power by leaning in my friend's face, for getting treated that way. I just, and I feel so much compassion because just having to go through that, having to go through a whole year of the teacher getting mad at him and getting on him for things that he did wrong constantly throughout the whole year. The whole year, she was on him about not getting his work done, about being disrespectful, about this negative, about that negative. And I just felt for him. I just felt for him and what he was going through. I just would feel so, I just was like, I don't want it, but I don't want to, I want to set a boundary with this. I don't want to be drained by this. because I actually want to move away from my friend because I can't really want to be around him. I can't stand to be around him because of this association of this, whole thing with the teacher. It's like, and it's very, very hard to set boundaries and emotionally. Like, oh my gosh, setting emotional boundaries with this teacher was so incredibly difficult. Because, again, intense, very intense. So, setting emotional boundaries was hard. There were a couple, few, very sliver moments of good memories, like a conversation that we had, but most of it was just all negative and, yelling, screaming, getting mad, and all of it. And I do think that my mom's teacher abused her power very much as well. So these teachers are really, really similar to each other in that kind of way. Like they both abused their power and reflected back the shadow of the Aries South Node. Like I was seeing it in real life. I was experiencing the real thing. I was seeing how the South Node in Aries was playing out in my life at the time. So, I felt like when she would walk to her desk, I was wondering if she would just talk to me and just get mad at me. And there's one time when she was like, "You have to, do this work, and you have to, do this, um, do this, read this book and finish this assignment um, before, while you're at this field trip." And I didn't want to do that anyway. I didn't want to get to the minutia of what happened. There's just so much minutia. Basically, that was her. I felt like I was constantly walking on eggshells with her. Constantly. Constantly feeling under pressure if she would act. Constantly nervous when she would just erupt and get mad at me. Again, I tried to stay in her good graces. I tried to stay out of the drama. I tried to stay. Like, this is also my South Node in Scorpio. My South Node in Scorpio. This was not my North Node in Taurus at all. This was my South Node in Scorpio. Because South Node in Scorpio is so tuned in and so can be so sucked into others' negative power dynamics and how they abuse their power. Like, South Node in Scorpio has a history of being with people and past lives, being with those who were very, very controlling and abused their power. And so, living proof of my South Node in Scorpio, and I do believe that my friend also had South Node in Scorpio, North Node in Taurus as well. If I'm getting it correct, which I think that I am, actually. I think that his North Node was in Taurus, just like mine was. So, okay. So there were also these other teachers. One of them, which I met the second day of class, second day of school, was kind of a jockey teacher. I was kind of intimidated by her. Like, oh, I don't know about this person. I'm just intimidated by this person. How, her personality, and it's nothing I ever experienced. But then it's like, don't know somebody until you get to know them. Don't judge a book by its cover. Like, as I got to know her, I was like, I wish I had her, because she would have been kind. She would have been reasonable. She would have been decent. She wouldn't have been abusing her power like my teacher had. I had to be with the teacher who was the worst out of the fifth grade teachers, who was the one that abused her power in a way that was just wrong. That's just so wrong. And just, yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's a million words you can think to describe that, but you get the point of what I'm saying here. okay, so this other teacher, she taught math, and we were preparing for middle school, and they really made you scared for middle school in 5th grade, and of course middle school was a very, very different story. But the teacher, okay, so we kind of switched, like how you in middle school you switch from class to class. Well, we switched from one class to another. Just switching it up around. I remember, switching up, going to one class to another just to get a preview of what it'd be like. Changing subjects. The other teacher taught like science and social studies. I remember the teacher saying, "Knock it off." What my 5th grade teacher. I remember her saying, "Knock it off" a lot, and I remember her saying, "It better be done a lot." Like that was very, very common phrase. Is that what very, very intense. And so I'm just blown away by the whole experience right now, looking back. So there was this other teacher, who was, well, kind of in the middle. She wasn't as bad as my teacher, but maybe not as good as the other teacher, because she did yell a lot. She was very, my 5th grade teacher, I should also mention, had a very, very short fuse, like a really short fuse. I didn't know what would set her off next. I was constantly in fear and holding my breath and in discomfort over what would set her off next. I was constantly anticipating and constantly in fear of what would set her off next. And this other teacher yelled a lot. She yelled, hey, stop doing this. Hey, stop doing this. Or she used that word, hey, a lot, distinctly, I remember. And she was, she just, I felt, uncomfortable being around her, but comparatively, not as bad. I can tell you that much. But since she taught science and social studies, we did go on a fair amount of field trips that year. Again, minutiae details I don't feel like going into on this podcast. But that was 5th grade, basically. I want to move on to 6th grade. With 6th grade. When I got to middle school, I was so nervous about it. I was made to feel so nervous about 6th grade. But you know what? It turned out to be a pretty good year. It was a relief. It was a relief to me. 6th grade was a relief because what happened is I got into middle school and I met all these teachers, which I'm not going to go into the minor details of because I don't have to, but 6th grade was very much easy. I didn't gain a whole lot from it. I didn't learn a lot of skills in 6th grade, new skills, but I know the North Node moved into Virgo, which was about Jupiter moved into Virgo, so that was when I was experiencing my Jupiter return in Virgo, and I have a whole nother live stream. I think it's on my original channel where I talked about my Jupiter return in 2015 that I did in February 2022. I think that's still on there if you want to go check that out. 6th grade, I didn't gain a lot from that grade, which is kind of an average good grade. I don't remember anything too significant about it. I don't remember anything bad about it. But the North Node was in Virgo, which is about really the North Node in Virgo is about, you know what, I'm actually willing to participate in life. I'm willing to engage in life, and I'm willing to pay attention to details. But the North Node in Virgo is not here to. The Sun Node in Pisces getting out of the dreams, not of the fantasy. And the North Node in Virgo is very much about developing new skills and doing all this stuff. So it's very 6th grade, 6th house Virgo. So it's a very Virgo year. And okay, Fourth grade was a very Cancer year because the teacher that I had, Cancer is the fourth sign. Fifth grade was a very Leo year because the teacher was big and loud. And I believe, okay, get this. And I actually want to bring up her chart while I'm talking about her. If I'm getting right, I think I know her birth information, and I may want to validate a couple of things from the chart because I just cannot get this off my mind with this teacher. So I think I remember, if this may be wrong information, but I think I'm getting her birth data correct here. So let me just look it up because I want to go into her chart a little bit to see what dynamics are in there, like in terms of aspects and stuff that I can kind of guess at, that I can really go into depth about here. Okay, so one of the things I noticed about her chart, Venus in Scorpio. Says a lot. Venus in Scorpio, Mars in Leo. Both of those two placements spell it out entirely. Venus in Scorpio, Mars in Leo. Venus in Scorpio does not settle for superficial love, but at worst it can be possessive. It can be intense love. It can be like I'm controlling you in an intense, very, aggressive, hostile kind of way, at worst. And that was completely her because she abused her power. And Scorpio is about negative power, and she abused her power. Mars in Leo, very loud and proud, but at worst it can be abusing your power and very confident and, go get him. But, at worst it can be abuse of the power. Aspects. What aspects are going on in the chart that I can find? Moon conjunct Pluto. If that's in there, if that's a true astrological fact, that says a lot. And as I'm looking at her chart, I'm realizing that there's several aspects to Pluto, which is so interesting to me because that spells out so much of her, because Pluto is the planet of power. The planet of power and negative power dynamics. The planet of going deep into that power and what's hidden below the surface and getting to the power. So I just find that just so fascinating with all these aspects going on in her chart. Moon conjunct Pluto is like the emotions are intensified. Like your emotions are just like Pluto intensifies things, and your emotions, like Moon conjunct Pluto is like I'm feeling all these emotions and I'm expressing them in a very, very intense way. And she probably felt a lot of deep emotions inside her, like a lot of, this tells me this person feels these deep scorpionic emotions, and she does not know how to express these emotions in a healthy way. She didn't express these things in a healthy way. That's one aspect to her chart that I notice. Moon opposite Jupiter is another aspect I notice. Moon opposite Jupiter, overdoing it, overindulgence, being very, very big and loud, making something so big out of something, overdoing it. She overdid it with her anger. She overdid it with her self-expression. Mercury trine Pluto, that's a positive aspect. But her communication had definitely a lot of power to it. When she spoke, she had a lot of, I'm telling you, a lot of power when she spoke. And Mercury trine Pluto, Mercury the planet of communication, Pluto the planet of power, like Mercury trine Pluto is, I penetrate with what I say. I speak in an intense way, and I'm getting into, I'm manipulating you, and I'm knowing how to push your buttons and knowing how to convince you of things. Like it speaks with this Plutonian power. Venus sextile Pluto. Venus in Scorpio sextile Pluto in Virgo. Scorpio Virgo, very, very critical, deep signs which are about, I believe she had Pluto in Virgo, which are about, the details. Um, Both, like I'm not advanced in this yet, both Scorpio and Virgo, they both have to do with just the deep investigation things. I can't make this connection here. Um, okay. Jupiter opposite Pluto. Another Pluto aspect in the chart. Jupiter opposite Pluto. I may be getting all this wrong, but if I'm getting it right, then this is so validating. Jupiter opposite Pluto, very, very much overdoing your power. What this says to me, this person overdid her power. And she overdid her power. She overindulged herself in her power. It was too much. It was too intense. She overdid it. She didn't know how to put a limit and put a container and put a filter and put, okay, I am expressing this in a healthy way. In an evolved, I'm taking a breath. Like, did she ever just take a breath before she got mad? Did she ever just stop and just breathe and just calm down a little bit before she just erupted? Or did she just impulsively just got mad and just erupted without thinking about it? I mean, if she was an Aries sun, she was expressing the low road, very, very low road of Aries, very much. Jupiter opposite Pluto, overindulged in some power. Saturn opposite North Node, that can indicate some challenges. Uranus conjunct Pluto, it's kind of an outer aspect. Neptune sextile Pluto. So yeah, that's her chart. Just thought I'd cover that ground with you, so just to validate that. So 6th grade was very, very significant. Moving into, okay, this is going to be long. This is very, very long. Moving into 7th grade. Now this year was, it was a rough year. 7th grade was a very rough year. There's a lot of homework in 7th grade. A ton of homework. A ton. The teachers were more demanding, had higher expectations. It was very, very hard to keep up with. I struggled in 7th grade. The very, very first day, it felt like the longest day that I ever experienced in school in my life. I was totally unprepared for how difficult it would be in 7th grade. And so I went home because of that, and I forgot my backpack, and I was constantly rushing to get stuff back for the bus all the time, packed for the bus all the time because of that whole stuff, because I rode the bus when I got back to middle school. And I cried and I broke down. And it was so tough. I was so shocked and unprepared for how much we would be learning and how hard it would be. And immediately there was a lot of homework. So that grade was rough, but at least I gained a lot from it. And I learned to swim. Like, I was sunk into the deep end of the pool, but I learned to swim and came out of that. Learning to swim. And I gained a lot from that year in the sense that I worked very, very hard. And as a result, it paid off. Like, it was hard. I struggled, but as a result, it paid off. And I remember the special ed teacher that I had in 5th grade, who was kind of loud, kind of very fun, but yet I kind of felt nervous and uncomfortable around her. I just didn't feel myself around her. Like, I perceived her calling me a name, like calling me my name, and calling me the name. This is gonna sound so weird. You're probably thinking, like, what are you talking about? Hachi. That's a weird perception that I had. Anyway, I shouldn't go into that detail that just makes zero sense to you. I shouldn't have even mentioned that. But I don't really have too much to say about her. Exactly, that was too much. It was mainly my fifth grade teacher that I have the thing about. Seventh grade was rough, but I learned to swim. Was working very, very hard. Eighth grade, that was the year that I was reading. I was into reading. I was seriously into it, obsessed with it. That was my life, was reading. It was a great year. Great year. One of my best years. In fact, probably my best year of school, because I was so fascinated with what I was learning. I took all these great classes. The teachers were so nice. And I was so interested in what I was learning. And I read a lot, and that year was just very, very good. There was a lot of things, minor details. I remember we had a Manners Day that year. We read To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. We read Call of the Wild by Jack London in literature class. We learned American history and social studies. Science was kind of all over the place. In seventh grade, the teacher, we should get into. Oh well, I could make a whole podcast about seventh grade. Basically, one of the teachers did not take responsibility enough in his classroom by just handing over just these packets and not actually teaching the class. So that was one issue. The other teacher taught it like it was a high school classroom, like it was an AP biology classroom. Old school. The book was very, very old. And he moved fast, and it was a very, very difficult class. And I was in the special ed math. I wasn't in the mainstream math class there at that period. But so anyway, 8th grade was a great year. A great year. All in all, science was all over the place, and math was better than other years. And there was film club where you went in and saw films during your lunch period, which was good. So there's a lot of things that came out of 8th grade. 9th grade. Went to high school. Was not nearly as scary as middle school. Got my MacBook computer. That's the very first computer that I got. Still reading that year. Kind of went down. That year, good year. It was a good year. It wasn't. I think the whole high school years were not too rough at all. Not too rough. Not very rough. In terms of the homework, in terms of the classes. So at 9th grade, I was with special ed teachers. Very, very nice. Virgo sun. Very down to earth. I made another friend that I met in middle school who was with me in high school, and he was there, and she was kind of reactive and mad at him a lot with his actions because he was not the most mature with his actions. More on that to come. But 9th grade was kind of an average year. I don't want to go into the details of that. 10th grade was my sophomore year of high school. I learned world history. Specifically early modern world history. I remember that year I was really, really in my head about stuff. Very, very down and depressed, having all these weird, uncomfortable thoughts about things. These weird words that came into my head. These weird perceptions of things. In 10th grade. And that was the year when COVID hit. That was 2019 to 2020. And I should mention that 8th grade did have the North Node in Leo. And I think that one of the teachers was Leah herself. And it was about being creative. It's about being creative and being your authentic self. And, with movies and stuff, it's kind of like that. But with COVID, you think of the North Node and Cancer, people going home, COVID, life shutting down and the work shutting down, and people, going home and going inside themselves and going to reflection, connecting with their emotions, all things that everyone did with COVID. So 10th grade had COVID, it cut off. I took Spanish for the first time. The teacher actually came from Spain. Not too many things significant about that year that I want to go into. 11th grade, that was the year when I was doing remote learning and my junior year of high school. And I did take several classes. And I took a history class, 20th century world history class. And there was a student teacher that taught the class, and nothing against him, but I just felt like he just had some power that he didn't let the teacher do her job, and the teacher was handing over her power to him, not standing up and stepping up to the plate and teaching the class. And I perceived him as taking over the power, it's like somebody in your birth certificate sheds. It's just a guess. It means nothing. It's just like somebody coming in and taking over. They're very, very nice, but I didn't want you to take over. Because you're not you're not this person. You should be taking over. What business of you, what right do you have to take over this and be in control of this? That's my view of this student teacher, who was a Scorpio sun. So that kind of, was for something against Scorpios at the time, because I was got into astrology at that time. And, for those who have the South Node in Scorpio and North Node in Taurus, be around Scorpios that are secure within themselves, that are evolved, that express the higher versions of Scorpios. Don't surround yourself with low-level, insecure power over Scorpios. We're not eliminating the South Node entirely. We're looking at, what is the shadows, and how can we evolve through the shadows to actually achieve Taurus, to actually achieve what we're North Node. We're not just leaving it behind. Anyway, more on that in the Taurus, North Node, South Node, Scorpio video. I'm getting exhausted from all this talking. Excuse me. Now I want to go to bed now. Which I think I will after, recording this podcast. I think I might just go to bed and just edit this tomorrow morning. Because maybe I'll edit it tonight. I don't know. But anyway. 11th grade remote learning. I remember my second semester of that, I had a class where I kind of failed the class because the teacher didn't. It was a government class and the teacher didn't. Just very, not very engaging, and just, it's a packet, you have to, do this and do all that kind of thing, and not really anything different, and just from what I was doing, and I don't know. That was that class. 12th grade, senior year. There are some things with 12th grade that I want to delve into with this grade, as it is my last year of high school. Now, there's this theme with school. I told you this was going to be long. I warned you that this was going to be long. There was this theme throughout my whole school experience of teachers coming and going. Like the teachers that were so good that I thought would be there for the long term, would be there for the whole entire thing, would suddenly go away. Suddenly go away. And new teachers will replace them. And often it wasn't for the best. And the teacher that replaced this special ed teacher that I had at the beginning of high school was a Taurus sun, Libra moon. Okay. I explained his chart a little bit. Do I have to really go through his chart? Okay. Let me pull it up. I know his birth information. So let me pull it up. I guess it's going to be a long podcast. So let me find it. Here. I'm just pulling it up real quick. Okay. So I'm going to paint the picture as I go through the chart of this teacher because I don't want to be re-explained. I want to paint things. I want to talk as I go along. So this teacher had a Taurus sun. Born in the Capricorn decan of Taurus. Born in like all signs have their decans. Like the first 10 days of the season is that sign itself, with that ruling planet itself. The second days is the next sign in order. Like second half of Taurus season is Virgo half. Then it was the Capricorn. So this decan is about work and structure and responsibility and ambition and the more ambitious, working, earthy type side of Taurus that gets expressed in this. Okay. He had a Taurus sun. Fixed sign. What is the downside of fixed signs? Stubborn. The downside of fixed signs is holding on to things and not letting things go until they're fully addressed. The downside of fixed signs is, well, just I have a will and I'm going to stop at nothing to achieve it, even if it destroys others. You're thinking Scorpio for this. Get into that a little bit later. That was totally him. That was very, very much him. He wouldn't let things go. He was very, not mean to my friend. I went into that in my True Draining Friendships podcast. This kind of overlaps with that, but constantly was on him about what he did wrong, and constantly gave him lectures, and did not let this thing go. Did not let things go until things were fully, just addressed. He was very, very fixed, and he had a lot of power. Like he didn't yell or scream, but he was very, very calm, very solemn, very grounded, but he spoke with utter seriousness and utter control and utter power that was like, okay, this person has power and they are overpowering me. I felt like my power was taken away from me when I was in this room with this teacher. Who, I want to be specific, was my special ed teacher. Giving away another specific detail that you can probably guess at. Who had a lot of experience with dealing with difficult kids that had special needs, especially behavioral needs. He was very, very experienced with this. And there was a couple of things that I was like, maybe you're not the most experienced with these types of things. But very, very experienced with that. The Libra moon adds to the harmony of wanting to harmonize, wanting to create peace. Had a Libra stellium. Libra, Jupiter, Saturn. Let's talk about Saturn in Libra. The way that I can validate this here is Saturn in Libra can be so... Saturn's exalted in Libra and has a lot of good qualities, but in my mind is so conventional, so you must follow the rules, so into this is how you must act, this is how you must present yourself, you must be peaceful with others, you must compromise your own truth and identity, you must abide by the law, you must put others before yourself. Like all these lessons of Saturn that maybe he brought up in his own way that was negative reinforcing of the shadows of Libra. Like Saturn is a malefic planet for a reason, because it's very very, very cold and very, like down in the depths and realistic and very hard and very, not like Jupiter, who's all optimistic and light and happy and philosophical and all that. So he did have okay. The next thing, 2 planets in Taurus, Mars in Taurus. I think I misspoke. Let me see. Is it Sun conjunct Mars? Yeah, a wide conjunction between Sun and Mars. I'm not very close in orb, but Sun conjunct Mars in Taurus. Very, very wide, but still an aspect. Mars in Taurus. Mars is your ambition, what you're driven towards. Very much about what you're asserting yourself, putting yourself out there. And with Mars in Taurus, it's very stubborn, holds on to things for strong. So there's also a validation about that. So the Mars conjunction is someone who's has a lot of control, has a lot of power, in a way that you're suddenly ambitiously going after that power. Uranus and Scorpio, Neptune and Sag. Don't want to talk about the Lilith and Leo because that's not very significant. Lilith and Scorpio. Lilith and Scorpio. I didn't look at the other features Lilith. I should have looked at the other features Lilith because... And let me just, while I'm thinking of it, bring up my 5th grade teacher's Lilith and see if that validates anything that I was talking about, because Lilith is like what your shadows are and what you're afraid of. Let me just see if it's what sign it is in. Because I'm just so curious to see what sign it's in. So let me just find that out right here and now. Lilith is in Libra. What? Doesn't make zero sense at all. Well, I thought it would make sense, but it didn't. Anyway, astrology is a complex thing, and you have to get into the nuances of it, and you have to delve into it, and all that. So, okay, just thought I might look. But this one makes sense though. Lilith in Scorpio is also very, very much afraid of its own power. It's this fear, it has this this anxiety, this having this shadow of being afraid of your own power, of being stuck in the power dynamics of others, of all these kind of things, of just holding a lot of power in, having a lot of power, not being able to express it, and you have to express it in a healthy way, and others reject you for that power. And that certainly showed up. He did have a lot of power, and I was certainly drained on several occasions that he put on, on days that he was mad, several occasions of power when he was very, very in control, sucked me down, sucked me dry when it comes to how much power he had. It was just so draining, just very, 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 very draining. At the time I had my YouTube channel that I started and everything like that. Okay, aspects. Do I really, really have to get into the aspects? Oh my gosh. Okay, well, the two things that these teachers have in common, both my fifth grade teacher and this teacher, is they both have Moon conjunct Pluto. Like, wow, they both have Moon conjunct Pluto. That's amazing to me. Because I already discussed that aspect before, but feeling intense emotions, expressing them in an intense way. Let's see what it says about Moon conjunct Pluto. Waver between a rich and successful domestic life and social success, perhaps having difficulty succeeding at both, very perceptive and given to psychoanalyzing people, a strategist, strategizing, powerful emotions and strong feelings. They both had powerful emotions and strong feelings. Like really, really powerful emotions. Like both of them. They expressed it in different ways. One expressed them in very, very loud, firm ways. The other expressed them in a very quiet ways. Still, she usually can keep I put this in for a woman. Okay, the aspect of what is in emotional intelligence, able to get support back in the results I need. Okay, that's validated all that I need to to validate. With that. Any other aspects in the chart that I want to go through? Mars opposite Lilith. I should mention this. Mars opposite Lilith. Oh, that makes so much sense. Mars is your power, your assertion, how you show anger, how you fight, how you assert yourself. And Lilith is your shadow content. Parts that you oppressed. Like Lilith was rejected by society when she just expressed her power. Like when you express your power, you were rejected from expressing this power that you have with Lilith. I mean, this just makes so much sense. So much sense when I look at this. Let me just go up here and see. Sorry if you're getting tired or bored by this. I apologize. Okay. Quarrels. Crisis. Great passion after the storm. The teacher was very passionate, but he, again, was subtle about it. Said, validated all that I need to for that. Yeah. I don't really have too much else to say about this chart, as far as I can see. So that was the 12th grade. I basically had my year just normal. Just normal. Just an average year. There's one student who has a YouTube channel now that she hasn't posted on for. It's had some issues which I don't want to go into with her. But that was the dynamic of 12th grade. The very, very last little thing that I wanted to talk about here, and this is getting very, very long, longer than the usual podcast episodes. I'm actually gonna continue on with this, because I want to finish the story here. I want to get to all that I was talking about. My first semester of community college, I took this class with this teacher, this professor that was very old school. Very much conventional in her ways of doing things. Very much a stickler to the rules, a stickler to doing things right. She had very, very high expectations for the class. That things had to be done in this certain way. She looked at the details, and she had a structure and she had an organization, but it was a tough class. It was an intro to literature class that I took. It was very, very tough. Very, very tough. And she was on the older side. And I read a review of her, like she taught the class like it was a medieval, class and whatever, and she didn't have a whole lot of enthusiasm for what she talked about. Didn't have a whole lot of interest for what she talked about. Didn't have a whole lot of excitement for what she talked about. It was just kind of very, very mundane how she made the content material to be put out. This was the fall of 2022 when I was going through depression. Part of it. Very, very, very mundane. Incredibly uninterested. You really, really had to be into literature before getting to the class, and I was not. So it was one of the reasons why it's very, very tough. I'm really not following my Taurus North Node right now with doing this podcast. But so she we had this very, very big test. We had to write a story, analyze the story, and then write an analysis of it. Very, very tough. Same goes with poems at the end of the semester. And you had to hand write these tests out. Like you had to, the students had to hand write these tests out. I couldn't imagine how they could do that. I had to be on the computer. I had to do it on the computer. So I had accommodations for doing it in the testing center in the college and doing it on the computer. But what I want to focus on is a lesson that I learned in my life. And this lesson is about not letting others sacrifice your inner peace. It was November 21st of 2022. And over that whole weekend, I thought there was no homework to do, nothing to do at all. No homework. I had a lot of homework in the past, but I thought there was no homework at all. Nothing that I had to really do and focus on. Well, I was wrong about that. I was very, very wrong about that. I let it slip. I forgot about the assignment because when I was in class that day, November 21st, I found out there was an assignment due. It was an assignment where we had to analyze poems and answer questions, and but the point was, I was very, very resistant to do this. Like I didn't want to do this. And I did not want to succumb to the fact that I had to do this assignment. I wanted to deny the fact that I had this assignment. And I remember feeling just so stressed about it and just so overwhelmed. And just really waiting on the side of not doing it, but then I had to because it was an assignment, and it was due that night. It was due that night. So, Mars is retrograde, so you're not acting clearly. You're not acting in the clearest way. Neptune, square Neptune, which is like getting caught in illusions, delusions. Okay. Mars was squaring Neptune, getting caught in the illusion of tricking yourself into doing something when it's really not true for yourself, not knowing, is this true for me? Should I be doing this or should I not be doing this? Also, I think it has to do with feeling really, really groggy, feeling really, really drained, and I felt so exhausted that day, like so mentally and emotionally exhausted. And I got myself into my Scorpio South node with, I feel like I'm going to mention this on my Scorpio South node video tomorrow. Okay. I can't anymore. I can't. I've reached my limit. I mean, I'd like to get to all the things that I'm talking about, but at this time of night, with all this I have to get through, I've reached my limit. I've reached my limit. Basically, the experience was I worked myself to death. I didn't give myself enough inner peace. I didn't allow myself to, just relax and enjoy the evening. I got myself so worked up about this assignment that I sacrificed my inner peace, my inner state of being. I could have just watched some shows or done whatever, but I didn't. That's a short, abbreviated answer to it. I just want to get off. Now I'm tired. I wasn't tired coming into this podcast, but now I am tired. I don't want to see any comments saying, get some sleep, go to sleep. I'm aware of that. I'm very, very aware of that. And I couldn't do it before coming on here, but I think I feel exhausted now, and I'm going to get off now. So this has been a long podcast. This has been a very, very long podcast. This is long enough. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.